End acts of violence, extremism and intolerance. The message from Pope Francis on his first visit to Iraq. But in a country deeply divided along sectarian lines, will anyone listen? And can this visit appease the concerns of Iraq's Christians? This is Inside Story. Hello and welcome to the programme. I'm Peter Dobby. Now welcomed by cheering crowds and armed security lining the roads. Pope Francis is the first head of the Roman Catholic Church to travel to Iraq. At the start of his three-day landmark trip, the Catholic leaders appealed for common ground among religious groups. He was speaking at a meeting between peoples of different faiths in the ancient city of Ur, a significant site for Christians, Muslims and Jews. Earlier, he met Iraq's top Shia Muslim cleric in Najaf. The Pope's visit is meant to spotlight the heavy toll that years of war, repression and instability have taken on the country's now diminished Christian communities. But some have questioned why he's choosing to make the trip now at all, as COVID-19 and security fears make this the riskiest trip yet for any pope. Iraq is, of course, overwhelmingly Muslim, but hosts several Christian communities. The number of Christians in Iraq is estimated to be roughly about 250,000, compared to around 1.5 million before the US-led invasion in 2003. 14 Christian groups are officially recognized in Iraq. About 80% belong to the Chaldean Catholic Church. Syriacs make up about 10% of Christians in Iraq. They include Catholics, who form the majority, and Orthodox Christians as well. Another 5% are members of the Assyrian Church, believed to be the oldest in Iraq. OK, let's get going. Let's bring in our guests. In Nineveh, in Iraq, is Father Karam Shamasha, a Chaldean Catholic priest. In London, we have Christopher Lamb, Rome correspondent for The Tablet. He's also the author of The Outsider, Pope Francis and his battle to reform the church. And in Baghdad, we have Ahmed Rushdie, director of the think tank, the House of Iraqi Expertise Foundation. Gentlemen, thank you all for joining us. Ahmed Rushdie in Baghdad, coming to you first. Why is this trip happening now?
Well, according to the data that have been discovered by the Vatican, is that it's a historic visit that the Pope wants to do. A real important message is that humanity is one. Humanity can be united rather than to be divided. And also to have some sort of a message to the Iraqi politicians to say it's enough. You cannot just make a high pressure on the people, especially the Christians, who actually in the 80s, on the previous century, was about 1.4 million. Now it's only 200 to 300,000. So you can imagine how much pressure on Christian people, Iraqi Christians now in Iraq, that it pushed them to go outside Iraq. So all these messages need to be managed and need to be said face to face to all Iraqi politicians and also to Sayyid Sistani.
Karam Shamasha in Nineveh, what does Iraq get out of this visit?
Of course, first of all, thank you for this invitation. This visit has many significant messages for all the Iraqi people. It's very important in this time because also it's the first papal visit after the pandemic. So when the Holy Father has thought about to go for the first to the Christians in Iraq, to Iraqi people, because he knows very well, because he always prayed for us, for this country. He chose to come for first to this country, to say that I am near of you, that I prayed a lot for you, and now I want to pray with you from your country to the peace and to the fraternity and to the human values.
Christopher Lamb in London. Sounds to me like this is not just a religious trip, it's also a political trip. But we've got an unstable country. We've got a security situation in play constantly, of course, in Iraq, and we've got COVID-19 in play as well. How risky is this trip for the pontiff?
I think it's a very risky trip, and there were some people in the Vatican who suggested to the Pope that he should postpone or delay it in some way. But Pope Francis has always prioritised the countries that are suffering the most for his travels, and so he is not concerned about the risks to his personal security. I think what he was most concerned about was a visit spreading COVID-19, events that would be around the visit that would cause that. But the Iraqi authorities, I think, were quite clear that the visit could be carried out safely in those terms. But look, I think this trip is extremely powerful from both a symbolic level, theological level, and political level. The meeting this morning between the Pope and Ayatollah al-Sistani is historic. Never before has a Pope met the Grand Ayatollah in Iraq. And Ayatollah al-Sistani is such a crucial figure for post-invasion Iraq. But I think really at the heart of that encounter and at the heart of the Pope's visit is this point that he wants to make, that religion can never be used for violence, that religion is there to serve peace. And in Iraq, which is such a diverse country of different religions, this is a very, very important and powerful message that is going out to the world, because which other head of state has been able to travel Iraq in this way? So I think we really see, although despite this visit being very risky, a very, very strong impact, which is going to have reverberations for some time to come.
Ahmed Rushdie, coming back to you, would you say this is primarily a religious trip, or is it primarily a political trip? Because if we look at those pictures again of the pontiff meeting the Grand Ayatollah al-Sistani, clearly in that meeting room, nobody wanted to put a foot out of place. It was that big a deal.
Well, it shows you that religion actually has a huge impact on the people on the people's life in Iraq. So that's why it's a religious action in a way to put a political pressure, which just I said, I think the Pope said clearly to the Grand Ayatollah is that you should make a lots of pressure to stop the sufferness of the people, of the Iraqi people, not only Christian Iraqis, because eventually it will help to improve the people's life. Now, let us not forget, the main message is that Iraq richness is actually in its diversity, in a way, to improve the life of the people in Iraq. And let us not forget also that we have demonstrations in Nasiriyah, which a few kilometers from the Ur town. So you can imagine is that it has, yes, it is a religious action, but it also has a political impact on Ayatollah Sistani and also on the Iraq blocs, because eventually it will say, we are seeing you, you're still corrupted, you're still doing nothing to the people. Christians, Iraqi Christians, it's also actually suffering a lot. There are about 4,000, 5,000 families migrate from Nineveh to Baghdad just to get away from the slaughters of Daesh, of ISIS. So all those problems, actually, corruption, unemployment, lack of services, all those major problems, actually within 17 years, nothing's happened. So I think the Pope visit, it is historic.
Okay.
And also it has some sort of a soft power to have a pressure on all those subjects or all those sectors that making the decision makers. It's also from those sectors.
Okay, that's interesting. You used the phrase soft power there. Karam Shamasha in Nineveh. When it comes to soft power, if the message from the Pope to al-Sistani is you can't carry on treating minorities in this country in the way they've been treated, clearly the optics here, we're talking about Christians in Iraq. How long until al-Sistani could or should start signalling to the militia who are going after the Christians still in Iraq, you've got to stop doing that?
We don't know what they talked about inside the house of Ayatollah Sistani, but sure they were talked a lot about how to make a bridge of peace between the people of all the religion of Iraq, because it's not about just the militia. There is the mentality of a lot of people is still want to change, because a lot of the people they thought that Christianity is still till now is not a true religion. So I think there is a lot of message that a lot of things that I think it's gonna be discussed in this meeting, but also to say for all the people that they believe in the power of the Ayatollah al-Sistani, that when the leader of the Shia, it's the most important figure in Iraq for the Iraqi Shiite in Iraq. So when the leader has met our Pope, has met our spiritual father, it means that there is no problem between these two religions. But the simple people, they had to know these things. They had to know that there is no difference between we shouldn't kill each other, but we should respect. When our leader, they respect each other when they speak about the peace. So also all the people had to do these things if they believe in these leaders.
Christopher Lamb in London, how much of a productive potentially overlap is there between the two religions if we view the two religions through the prism of these two individual men? I mean, they've both got basically the same kind of belief system at one level and the same kind of personalities, haven't they? They're both humble men. Al-Sistani is paid for out of contributions from the diaspora of Shia Islam around the world. He rents the house he lives in and he pays the rent from donations. And he, we understand, like the Pope, absolutely believes in the separation of religion from the state. And that's the difference between Shia Islam and what goes on across the border in Iran, which, of course, is a theocracy.
Yeah, I think that's a very important point because, of course, the Catholic Church shares that position about the separation between church and state, but of course has only had that position since the Second Vatican Council in the mid-1960s, which was the great reforming council of the church. And so what we're seeing, I think, is this new relationship between the church and Islam, and in particular more moderate figures, but of course leading figures within the different faiths. And I think that clearly when we see the Pope and Al-Sistani together, there is a kind of a meeting of minds here. And that's why I think this visit and that meeting that the two had is so vitally important and opens up a new era for Christian-Muslim relations in a way that we haven't seen before. And I think also that we have to remember that when it comes to the church's relationship with Islam, there are, and particularly when it comes to the Pope and Al-Sistani, there are a number of similarities in the sense that the Pope and Al-Sistani are both authority figures that have a strong base, a strong following, and they both have a message that they can get out to their people, and that's where the impact will I think come through.
Ahmed Rushdie in Baghdad. We're hearing positive noises from the Iraqi president directly off the back of this sort of day one into day two, heading towards day three of this trip by the Pope. Is Iraq at a presidential, prime ministerial, security services level very keen to be seen to be handling this properly and it goes off glitch-free? No problems at all, because it's kind of like a watershed moment for Iraq that it can do this, because it's been such a dangerous country before. There were 2 papal visits planned in the past and they were cancelled because somebody at the Vatican said, no, it is simply not safe, sir. It's not going to happen.
Well, on a pragmatic way, yes, the alliance between Saleh and Kadhimi, the president and the prime minister, actually they worked hard to make a successful visit for His Holiness to Iraq. It's obvious. And to send a message to the West is that this alliance between the president and the prime minister can be stronger, can be more stronger, or let's say can be the most strongest alliance in Iraq, in a way to say to the West is that we can do something in Iraq. And there is another message is that it's away from the political box. We are away from the militia. We are away from the corrupted persons. So it shows you how much the president and the prime minister try hard to send those messages, because we all know that we have elections in October, maybe postponed, I don't know actually, but it shows you that this alliance working hard to send those messages to say we can make the future of Iraq better. We can make the future of the relationship between Iraq and the West, Iraq as a multi-religious country with the Vatican can survive if we stay on power. It's a political message. It can be understood. It can be understood on that way, and I think it was a very successful visit from the Iraqi side. It was very good. Preparations happened, and the president and the prime minister actually were the successful officials.
Karam Shamasha in Nineveh. Clearly, everyone involved in the planning of the trip, everyone involved in the filming of the trip, the broadcasting of the trip, the reporting of the trip, wants it to be seen as a success. But the historical context of this goes back hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. Christians in Iraq have always been at an angle, at a tangent to the mainstream of religious belief and religion in that part of the world. And that aspect of Christianity in Iraq is not going to change overnight, is it?
Of course, the presence of Christianity in this country, it's very, very old, and we are here from the first century. We were the first church who arrived to China and to India to bring the evangelism. So for us, our presence here, it's very important. This visit, it will support this presence, and it will be push the Christianity also, and to tell to all the world that the Christianity here, it has this roots, and it will be continue to be here. But of course, we need that, as the Pope has said, the dialogue between the religions of this country, supported by the law, supported by the equality. All these things, it will help the Christianity in this country to continue. Of course, there is a lot of media has showed that this beauty of the welcoming of the Pope when he's arrived in the airport. It was very, very beautiful image that the country has present to all the world. That when is this harmony between all the ethnics in this country, include, of course, the Christians, the Kurdish, all the people of this country and the ethnics of this country, we will see the beauty of this country. And we hope this visit not just to be this change of mentality, not just to remain in the airport. We saw a very beautiful image, but we want that this image of harmony also go around all the country. All the mentality of the people has to believe in this harmony.
OK. Christopher Lamb in London, on that idea of harmony, is this actually in real terms and in real time, I guess, international recognition of Iraq as a country, as a sovereign state, but on top of that, the Iraqi school of Islam as opposed to Islam across the border in Iran? which clearly a lot of the rest of the world does have a problem with, not least at the moment, the United States and that idea of the overlap between religion and state theocracy?
Well, look, I think the church and obviously other actors would like to see Islam develop in the way that you point out, to have that separation between religion and state, religious authority and state. Of course, from the Catholic Church's point of view, that's also something that they are pushing, but there's also something that's relatively recent. It's only in the last few decades that the Catholic Church has come to that position. So it's obviously going to take time. Well, one of the things that the Pope and the Vatican have repeatedly called for when it comes to Christians in the Middle East and in Muslim majority countries is for Christians to be recognized as citizens, not just to be protected or to have their security looked after, but to be full citizens, because as we know, Christians in Iraq have been there from the very beginning. The Christians in Iraq are also mentioned in the Bible, in the Acts of the Apostles, that the Christians of Mesopotamia witnessed the first Pentecost. So there is, from the Vatican and the Church's point of view, a push to have Muslim countries recognize that Christians are citizens and that they can be part of the coexistence, the healthy pluralism of a country. And of course, it works both ways. And when Pope Francis signed a very important document on human fraternity in 2019 in Abu Dhabi, that document contained a paragraph saying that both minorities in the East and the West, with a Muslim or Christian, must be recognized as citizens. And so it works both ways. And the Vatican is pushing for jurisprudence within Islam to recognize minorities as citizens. And that's something that can be drawn out from Muslim tradition. OK,
Christopher, I'm going to pause you there because we are heading rapidly towards the end of the programme. Ahmed Rushdie in Baghdad, very, very briefly. Is Iraq, in effect, through the vessel of religion, overtaking other countries in the region because it seems to be recognising religion can be used as a stepping stone into some properly grown-up, very high-powered diplomacy?
It can be happen if we have the good and the right intentions from the clerics, especially in Najaf. And eventually, we need a powerful impact on the Iraqi government, on the political blocs, to have some sort of reforms that can be happen if Najaf put lots of pressure on the political blocs. And I'm sure is that if Najaf will say no, they will end up with those bad stories that they did.
OK, Ahmed, I'm going to pause you there as well, because I do want to put the last point to Karam Shamasha in Nineveh at the heart of the story. Karam, in 30 seconds for me, please. When presidents and prime ministers meet each other, they generally extend a reciprocal invitation. What are the chances that the Pope has asked al-Sistani to visit him in the Vatican, do you think? And might that actually happen? Not this year, maybe next year or the year after.
I don't know if his health, it will help him, but already they opened this dialogue. I think they already started. They suggested to start a dialogue commission or something like that to start with Najaf. It's also a very important point that it's one of the fruit. It is already done from this visit, is to open this dialogue between Najaf and Vatican. It's already done, and they are preparing to it. So about the visit, of course, and the Vatican is always open for all the religion. Always, everybody is welcome to come to Vatican, as I know. But it depends how if they can come or not.
OK, gentlemen, the clock has beaten us as ever on Inside Story. Thank you all very much. They were our guests today, Father Karam Shamasha, Christopher Lamb and Ahmed Rushdie. And thank you too for watching. You can see the show again anytime via the website aljazeera.com. For further discussion, go to our Facebook page. That's facebook.com/AJ Inside Story. You can also follow the conversation on Twitter @AJ Inside Story. From me, Peter Dobby, and everyone on the team here in Doha. Thanks for watching. We will see you very soon. For the moment, bye-bye.